Welcome back to Tipping Point. I'm your host, Kara McKinney. I remember about a decade or so ago when my family and I were setting out on a road trip to New Orleans, Louisiana. We made a pit stop somewhere in Texas, and while speaking with one of the hotel staff there who was making small talk with us about our trip, we let him know that our next stop was NOLA. The guy couldn't have been more shocked. A happy couple with several kids wanting to go to a city that in 2022 would be named the murder capital of the United States. It was shocking for me as a teenager to hear this guy get so worried on our behalf. We thought he was over-exaggerating since we weren't going to any bad parts of town. We only wanted to see the incredible World War II museum that's there. Plus, we thought to ourselves, all big cities have their bad sections. Just stay away from those and be vigilant, right? Well, then as we were leaving that Texas hotel, we heard on the news that a shooting in New Orleans wounded 9, so maybe the guy had a point. Now, thankfully, our little excursion turned out just fine with no horror stories to report. But I never forgot that encounter in Texas, especially now, as I see that even Soros-backed prosecutors are not safe there. New Orleans District Attorney Jason Williams was helping his 78-year-old mother to his car on Monday when a pair of armed carjackers approached them and stole their vehicle at gunpoint. Thankfully, neither mother nor son were hurt, and their car was later found abandoned. Cops believe the same suspects ditched the car and then carjacked a young woman about 30 minutes later. That tells us many things, and one of those things is that most crime is committed by the same few people. Like in this case, these suspects appear to have carjacked 2 people on the same day, 3 people. If you just lock them up, crime goes way down. But ideologues like Williams, they don't like that. It's too simple. Instead, white supremacy has to be the culprit. That's what he ran on in 2020, and he got Soros to pump over $220,000 into a PAC that ran attack ads against his opponent. And what happened next after his electoral victory? It's predictable. As the Daily Caller reports, quote, Williams declined to prosecute 65% of all criminal cases in New Orleans in 2021, but slowly began to prosecute more cases as crime in the city rose, according to data from the New Orleans government's office. The DA still continues to prosecute on average only 44% of the criminals who have been charged by police. New Orleans was named the murder capital of the United States in 2022, and violent crime was the leading cause of death for children in the city that same year. Auto thefts in the city have increased 104% since 2022, and total crime has increased 8% since the start of the year, police data showed, end quote. This all reminds me of a new case happening out in Georgia where BLM and ambulance chaser Benjamin Crump, they're trying to make a new martyr. The man who was shot by police is named Leonard Allen Cure, and he served 16 years in prison on a wrongful conviction charge after actually being wrongfully convicted before he was then released. He then reportedly spoke to schools about his experience, but as horrible as that is, based on the Black Power symbolism he draped himself in, he was done cooperating with officers. And so he was pulled over on Monday by a sheriff's deputy who clocked him going 100 miles an hour in a 70-mile-per-hour zone on the highway. Cure was immediately combative, as the cop's dashcam video shows, even after being told that reckless driving to that degree is considered to be a criminal offense in the state, which could warrant arrest. The officer gave him several warnings before deploying a taser, which Cure was able to resist much of the effects of before then attacking the officer. You see in the struggle that the suspect is choking the officer by covering his mouth and his nostrils and hyperextending the officer's spine by pushing him backwards and telling him, yeah, B-word, yeah, B-word. The cop tried a taser, which didn't work. Then he tried his baton, which also didn't work, and so he was forced to escalate all the way to deadly force, shooting Cure. This is what the rhetoric of Soros-backed DAs like the one in NOLA gets, more dead people. Because on the one hand, they cover for criminals, and then on the other hand, they tell black men specifically to resist the cops at every chance, don't comply, be rude, fight them, and escalate a simple stop into a life or death struggle, or else you're a stooge of the white supremacist foot soldier, the cop. It's a disgusting mindset that needs to stop.